because we got Gary listening in Montana. You're on Free Talk Live, Gary.
Hi, big guy. How you doing?
Hey, Gary. Actually, you're on with three guys, but go ahead. You're on Free Talk Live.
I sent you a tweet.
Oh, splendid.
But things are not free here in Montana.
Okay. I didn't expect they were. They're not free anywhere.
No, they're not.
So tell me more.
About a year ago, I'll pick your brain on this. I went out and grilled some hamburgers, had a beer, took my drugs, and I was going to bed. And I thought, well, no, before I go to bed, I'll just go over and gas up the car. Well, I was in the store paying for my gas, and I got arrested for a DWI.
In the store, you were arrested. Okay. How'd that happen?
Yes, sir. I don't know. Just went in to pay for my gas.
Well, I mean, the drinking and driving laws don't stop when you get out of the car. I mean, I've told the story. I mean, I've been arrested for sleeping in my car. It's if the officer has reason to expect that you have either driven the car or even been in control of the car. I mean, people have been arrested for drinking and driving while sitting in their driveways listening to music.
That's a good point.
It is crazy.
When I was in jail here in Keene for doing civil disobedience, when I was in jail, there was a guy in there who was arrested at his house. And what had happened was he was driving, got home. Someone had called the police while they saw him on the road, suspecting him of driving drunk. Obviously, they don't know for sure. And then the police came to his house. This was after he'd had enough time to crack open a beer at home and had started to consume alcohol. The police knocked on his door. Of course, people don't know better, so he went and opened the door and talked to the police, and they breathalyzed him and arrested him for DUI right there, even though they didn't even witness him driving. Somebody else saw him.
It's a crazy story.
There was a case where a woman was charged with murder. She had apparently been in some kind of a hit-and-run accident, and the next day she turned herself in, and it was the next day she had alcohol on her breath, and
oh, man.
They had escalated this from some sort of an accident, and escalated because of the hit-and-run to a murder case, because in that state, if you kill somebody while you're drinking and driving, that's murder as opposed to manslaughter or vehicular homicide or whatever.
And because she had alcohol on her breath the next day, they figured she was drunk at the time?
Yeah, they had this. It was really a far stretch of bad.
Hey, Gary, I don't know if you had more to your story, but we'd love to hear it if you do. So hang on. 855-450-FREE is the toll-free number here tonight. Gary says Montana's not free, and he's right. Nowhere is free as long as we have these people calling themselves the state who are ruling over us all. Of course, there's an argument that everybody's consenting at some level. All right, let's go back to Gary. He is in Butte, in Montana, listening allegedly to KXTL. Gary, are we on KXTL right now? Is that true?
Not until 7 o'clock this evening.
Aha, that's what I thought. Okay. I thought you were actually that maybe they'd specially put us on or something like that. Okay, very good. So you are listening online then. Either that or you were just calling us just for the heck of it. And either way, we're happy to have you. So you were telling us that you were at a store. It was a trip to the convenience store. You were gassing up the car, apparently, before you were going to go to bed one night, and you got arrested for DUI. Tell us more of your story, because we kind of went off into related story land. So I want to hear more of yours. Go ahead.
It's a town pump about 5 or 6 blocks away.
Okay. So how did you get arrested? I'm not really clear on how that happened.
I don't know. I pulled up to the pump and went in to pay the clerk for the gas, and they came in and arrested me.
Did they ask you some questions? I mean, usually there's a conversation that happens in the course of this. Mm-hmm. They're usually trying to, get you to incriminate yourself. Yeah, nothing like that?
It's been a year or so ago, so I cannot recall whatever the conversation was.
Were you actually drunk at the time?
After one beer, I don't think so.
Okay, you'd had one beer. I didn't remember that detail in the story. So what ended up happening with the case? I mean, they charged you with DUI. Did you go to court? Did you take a plea? Did you go with not guilty? What happened?
Well, at present, I had to get a public defender at the time, and the public defender was well aware of my financial straits and everything. That was never brought forward in court after I signed court documents. The judge in charge added that my driver's license would be suspended.
Okay, that's pretty common.
And it's like I talked with the state of Montana DOJ earlier this afternoon, and it's like, got a gun to your head unless you pay us our money.
That's usually what it's all about. Now, again, I'm not really clear. Are you saying the court thing hasn't cleared out yet? Are you you've still yet to go to trial? What's going on with the DUI charge, the legal charge?
No, it's all over.
So what happened? Did you take a plea, or what happened?
I guess I took a plea.
It's amazing to me. We brought this up on another show where somebody called in and wasn't sure of some of the things that his lawyer was doing. Folks out there, if you are jammed up with the law, I don't care if it's a public defender or what, make sure you understand what these people are doing on your behalf. If you go into a criminal case and then you don't know exactly what happened after it's over, you have made a terrible, terrible mistake in a lot of these cases, man. It's I understand how that it can be difficult and complicated and
it's
stuff
scary
like that,
too.
but
It can be scary.
It's terrifying.
Now, Gary, so did they breathalyze you at all, ever? I'm just curious.
Yeah, but now here's what I did. I barbecued, I took my prescriptions, and I had one beer while I was watching the movie.
What were your prescriptions, if you don't mind me asking?
They are heart drugs.
Okay.
Another thing that probably isn't getting mentioned here is what they call residual mouth alcohol. And if you drank after you had your barbecue rather than before, what does happen, is that you'll have alcohol on your breath. Now, they're supposed to have you rinse your mouth before you use this breathalyzer.
Not
no one ever
necessarily
does this.
rinse your mouth, but they're supposed to make you wait at least like 15 minutes after your last drink.
Well, and that's the idea, and in fact, and that's why they won't let you, generally in most states, blow within 15 minutes of burping. So if you have to keep on burping every 12 and a half minutes, then allegedly you shouldn't have to take these tests.
Yeah, if your gums bleed or anything like that, too, because it's supposed to be getting the alcohol from your breath as opposed to if you've got blood in your mouth, there's a higher concentration of blood in the alcohol in the blood.
If anybody out there considers even taking one of these breathalyzers, the first thing you need to understand is A, you shouldn't do it within 15 minutes of drinking. B, you should rinse your mouth out with water or something before you do it.
Gary, do you know what the consequences are in Montana if you don't take the breathalyzer?
I did not take the breathalyzer on the site.
Okay, and so where did you take it? Back at the police station?
Yes, sir, I did.
So so then there would have been a fair amount of time, right, between when you had the drink and when you were actually breathalyzed.
Should have been.
I would assume so, yeah.
And what
sounds
was
like a broken breathalyzer is what it sounds like.
What was the BAC? Do you recall?
I don't recall offhand, no.
But it was presumably enough for them to charge you with DUI.
Yes.
You know what, Gary, I wish you the best out there, and thanks for the call tonight. There's definitely it's a story that's not uncommon. A lot of people have been charged with DUI, and a lot of those charges have been, hard to prove. Although it's hard to fight the.
Well, they don't have to
BAC.
prove anything because nobody takes it to court.
If the truth of the matter is that he had one beer, I mean. If that's true, I mean, he should have taken the thing to court, and unfortunately, the guy doesn't even remember if he took a plea or not. So I mean, it's one of these things. It's impossible for us to say what was going on there. But
how do you fight the breathalyzer? I mean,
the breathalyzer is easier to fight than you might think. I could pull up the warranty on it. Like it actually says the manufacturer of that thing is a company called CMI Inc. Most of them are the Intoxilyzer 5000 or 8000, and these things
Intoxilyzer 5000.
Right, it's a catchy name. Right. And so these things are made by this, private company, and they have the monopoly on them. They sell them to law enforcement, and the warranty, the guarantee on it says specifically, it says this device is not warranted to be fit for any particular purpose. and there's no like guarantee that the thing even works. And on top of that, there's it's not necessarily specific to alcohol. It can be triggered by acetaldehyde, which is a chemical that's common, especially in smokers' breath. It's shining a light through a tube. There's so many. I could go on for hours about the breathalyzer.
Okay, sure, but are there actually cases where people have beaten a breathalyzer?
Yeah,
I mean,
you just have to. It's a thing on the jury, though. Are you going to convince the jury that this thing isn't?
Are all
accurate
DUIs jury level charges?
Not all DUIs. As a matter of fact, your first DUI here in New Hampshire is a B-miss, so you don't get one. In New York, it is. So, like, I wanted to take mine to trial, but they just made me such a deal that, like, I was facing 4.5 years in prison, and they were like, do a month in jail, and I was like, all right, let me get a misdemeanor conviction instead of a felony.
More coming up here in moments. Your thoughts are welcome. Your experience, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Even if you don't ultimately take it to trial, if you just refuse to plead initially, you'll usually get a better plea down the line as well.
Yeah.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.